It is about to be a stress-free weekend as the Denver Broncos are on their bye, but one of the reasons it is so stress-free is because we got the guy that literally everybody else wants to have, and he said something that just distinguishes him from any other person in his position across the entire NFL. We're going to break all that down and way more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it really does help me out, helps the YouTube algorithm out a lot if you would like and subscribe. John Elway once said it wasn't about winning now, it's about winning from now on. And because we have Sean Payton and because he is so different than any other coach in the NFL, we can feel very confident about this team right now. We're 8-5. We have a 2-game lead heading into the playoffs, but he did something this week in the immediate aftermath of that Browns game that you do not see other coaches in the NFL do. It's an ultimate sign of confidence on his part, and I think it just buys an insane amount of goodwill towards the players. It's why people will run through a wall for Sean Payton. It's why a roster coming into the NFL season ranked number 31 or 32 on all the boards are out punching all their weight classes, are skiing way over their skis. It's because of the leadership, and that trickles all the way down. And so let's dive into what exactly Sean Payton said. So one of the worst parts of the game was we had finally stopped the Cleveland Browns. We'd gotten the ball back. Our defense seemed to have been really out on the field like a ton because of how everything was working, and they were carving up our defense and backed up deep on the first play. We didn't run the rock. Instead, we rolled Nix out kind of to his left, and he threw essentially a punt slash massive bomb that was intercepted, threw into man coverage. Marvin Mims being guarded by one of the best man cover corners in the entire NFL, Denzel Ward, and it was intercepted. And when he was asked about it, Sean Payton didn't say, oh, Bo's got to put that out in front of him, or, Bo needs to not throw that when he sees that he doesn't have him open. How did Sean Payton respond to that, and how is that so diametrically opposed to what every other NFL coach does in this situation? Let's listen.
In the offense to come back after throwing the deep interception when he threw for Mims.
That was my fault.
Okay.
I mean, that call wasn't good.
Okay. And then, but just to respond.
Like, let that sink. Did you hear that? Like, this guy who everyone says is like so cocky and like makes everything about himself. He just fell on his sword and said, that's my fault. And I just, that comes down like a breath of fresh air. That is the type of leader that you want. Imagine something at work goes wrong and your boss comes out and doesn't throw you under the bus, but says, that was my fault. And for those of you who says like, it's not rare. Do you not even remember a few weeks ago when the Raiders came out and Antonio Pierce calls out the entire team, even though he'd only been a coach for a few weeks there, and said they're making a bunch of business decisions and aren't playing hard, not falling on his sword whatsoever, but blaming the team. Right before Eberflus was fired with the Chicago Bears, they asked him about like how mismanaged the clock was, not getting a field goal in the last couple seconds in that game against the Lions when they could have tied it or won it if they'd used their timeout. And Eberflus is like, yeah, I don't see anything I did wrong there. Like, I'd run it back like that, and if I could do it 10 times, I'd do it 10 times just like that. And they fired him the next day because that's not what a leader does. And Gerard Mayo, another new coach up in New England, comes out and doesn't take any blame for his atrocious coaching that you've just seen all over his clock management, his play calls. It's like first down, hand the ball off, second down, hand the ball off, third down, get Drake May's got to work with 3rd and 9 and make something happen. And again, he comes out and calls his team soft. And so you just look at all of these other coaches in the NFL and no one falls on their sword like that. And that is the sign of an ultimate leader. And it really just bucks the entire narrative that Sean Payton is an egomaniac, or that like he throws his players under the bus, or like players don't want to play for him. There's a reason that there are 17 former New Orleans Saints who are either on this team through playing for Sean when he was in New Orleans or coaching with him. Like, this right there is the evidence of that Sean Payton is a magnet for players. He's a player's coach, yet he toes the line, and he's an offensive genius. So I think of someone like Harbaugh in the Chargers right now, and I think he would take blame for a bad call like that. I think he's rah-rah and a player's coach too, but he's not the offensive genius like calling up plays and scheming stuff like Sean Payton. So truly, we have like the best of both worlds. We have Dan Campbell, but a smarter offensive genius. Like, I don't know how Dan Campbell would be doing without Ben Johnson, and we're fixing to find out next year when he leaves the Lions. But you almost have the combination of like a Kyle Shanahan mind with a Dan Campbell personality, and I think it's like the perfect situation. In fact, Sean, if you're watching this, let's think about getting an apartment together. It's up to you. But there's a reason right now that you look here at just how different this team is performing right now. Zach Bai pointed out that we've scored 21 points in the first half of our previous 3 home games. And that is something over the past 9 years, we've only done 2 times. And you just see Sean Payton is doing that with a rookie quarterback, with the bulk of Russell Wilson's dead cap hit, with the picks that we lost for Russell Wilson, with the picks that we lost for him. He is making this incredible meal out of like all the ingredients. And just imagine, even when he can shop at Walmart, because Walmart is our ownership group. And so there is a reason that Sean Payton is the second highest paid coach in all professional sports in the United States, outpacing Greg Popovich, outpacing Mike Malone, Steve Kerr, all of that. But there is a reason, like looking at his winning percentage, and you think of all the games that he had to play without Drew Brees, without a quarterback at the end of the stint there, and all the games that he won last year. Like, we were almost a 500 team last year with Russell Wilson. We're way over 500 right now, and we haven't even come close to seeing the ceiling of this team. We have the type of coach who is making us good from now on, and it is just the most exciting time to be a Denver Broncos fan, and I hope y'all are feeling that as well. It takes a special coach to take the team. This is PFF's preseason rankings, and they ranked us tied for last place for the worst team in the entire NFL. Our over-under was set at 5.5 wins, and it says, hey, how should we bet the over-under? They're like, smash the under. We hit the under almost by the end of October, bros, and nobody wants to play us right now. Like, this team is good. We are hitting our hot streak right at the right time. We are going to be getting healthy during this offseason, and who schematically do you trust more than Sean Payton? And now that you have like that offensive genius tied with a type of leader dudes want to follow, you got to just feel insanely hyped about where we're going this year. And where we're going this year, this week, it's a stress-free week for us, but there are things that we can root for because we have a couple playoff clinching scenarios. So either if we win 3 of our last 4 home games, or our last games, 3 of our last 4, we are automatically locked into the playoffs. Or if this weekend we want to root for the Dolphins to lose to the Jets, that would be awesome. And we just go 2-2 with winning our first game here against the Colts, and maybe the Chiefs at the end of the season have rested their starters and we're locked in. But if we win 3 of our last 4, we're obviously in. We could go 2-2 with just a little bit of help, or truly we could go 1-3 with a lot of help and still make the playoffs. And to do that with this roster is as close to a miracle as you've seen from a coaching standpoint that you could possibly see. You see Sean Payton is getting the most out of this squad, and it has us just absolutely hyped. So as we are in this bye week, it just kind of resets you, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is horrible to have a Sunday without Broncos football. I'm so glad that I have more of the season left, and it's like that time of year where you're like, I only have 4 regular season games left, and so really just soak it in, because it's going to be February quick in those dark days where you're like, oh, I miss the NFL so much. But we have a lot to look forward to because the Denver Broncos are going to make the playoffs because we have our franchise quarterback in Bo Nix, and we have the best coach in the NFL, and that's Sean Payton. That's cold, hard fact, and something we all should believe in. Just hung on it. Come on.